Good afternoon, my name is Mariana and I'm going to talk about whiskey bartending. Whiskey is an alcoholic beverage that is made from fermented grains and it can contain a variety of grains depending on the type of whiskey that will be produced. The origins of whiskey date to the 15th century in Scotland. It is believed that it was introduced first in this country by Christian missionary monks who introduced distillation to Highland farmers. Then the farmers learned the procedure and used their own resources to create this beverage. For the elaboration process of whiskey, there are 6 steps. The first step is malting. One of the main ingredients to make whiskey is barley. Malting occurs when barley is steeped in water to germinate, and this step finishes when the barley is dried. The next step is mashing. After barley is dried, it's necessary to remove the sugars from the grain before fermentation. This is done by grinding up the grains and combining them with water in a mashing tub. The next step is fermentation. During this step, the resultant liquid from mashing is moved into a large wooden container and it needs to be mixed with yeast. When both are mixed together, they produce alcohol, and this process takes from 48 to 96 hours. And after this period, the liquid is drained to leave only the liquid and separate it from the grains. The next step is distillation, which is when the liquid needs to be heated and refined. To conduct this process several times, the production of whiskey mostly involves distillation 2 times, but it depends on the producer and the different times that they want the liquid to be distilled. The 5th step is maturation. The whiskey is moved to a wooden container and it is left there depending on also the type of whiskey that the producer wants, and maturation gives the liquid its color, its taste, and other characteristics. The aging period depends on the type of whiskey that wants to be produced. And finally, bottling, which is when the liquid is moved to the different containers that will be used for sale or for preservation. The classification of whiskey differentiate based on the grains used, the production process, and the maturation period. And there are different types of whiskey, which are Scotch whiskey, blended whiskey, single malt whiskey, grain whiskey, Irish whiskey, bourbon, and rye. There are also flavored whiskey depending on the different ingredients that they use to give the taste and the flavor to the liquid, and there are other different types. Like I said, the classification depends on several things such as the grains that are used, the process, and the maturation period. Thanks.